Hello and welcome back to my channel. And today I'd like to talk about um, Advanced Tiny Dungeon. And the reason for that is that recently I posted on several Facebook groups that I'm really happy that I finally got the physical version of this book. Um, as you one might know, it's really difficult to get these books here in Europe. I do not know exactly why, but it is, and it took a month until I was able to put my hands on my physical book, and I was really happy, and I post these on social media, and yeah, and then people just asked me, is it worth? What is the difference of these system and the normal tiny dungeons? And I thought that I had talked about it, but I checked my videos and actually I haven't done this. I briefly mentioned this system in my videos about tiny dungeons and forbidden lands, but I didn't go deep into the differences between advanced tiny dungeons and tiny dungeon. So this is what I'm going to try to do right now. This is not a scripted video, so I will just talk about what I know that are different, but I might forget something. So feel free to add in the comments if you see that something is missing, or if any doubts still. If you still have doubts, feel free to ask too. So advanced tiny dungeons. The main differences that I can see here is mainly in combat, and the reason for that is because in this book we have armor class, and I think this is actually great because armor class is basically the target number that we need to roll in a d6 in our d6 roll. And if you go to tiny dungeons as it is, it's really hard to hit. At least I think it is, because you just need to roll your dice. It could be two dice or three dice, or even one if you have disadvantage, and then you need to roll 5 or more in order to inflict damage to your opponent. And that's it. It doesn't matter if the guy has armor. It doesn't matter if the guy is fast or not. It doesn't matter anything like this. It is just basically you have this dice pool. You have 2 dice, and if you have advantage, you roll 3 dice. If you have disadvantage, you roll 1 dice. And this is great for tiny dungeons. I'm not complaining about it, but I had some I would say bad experiences where I just said, okay, I need to roll 5, and it didn't make sense for me sometimes. And when I read these advanced tiny dungeons, and when I saw these armor classes, I said, yes, these make sense, because now we can have opponents with lower AC, in this case 4, and for instance, and then now instead of rolling 5 and 6 only, I can roll a 4, and these make some stuff a little bit better. Another change that we have in this book is regarding the combat itself, as far as damage is concerned. Here, every single die that have a success deals 1 point of damage to your enemy, and in case of heavy melee weapons, it gives 2 points of damage. So now, and I actually did this already on tiny dungeons, but when I saw these in the official rules, it makes even more sense to me, because now, okay, if I roll, if I have advantage and for some reason I roll three successes, I will inflict 3 damage if I'm using a normal weapon, or if it is a heavy melee weapon, it will inflict 6 damage. So it makes even more sense to me. I know that it's small things. In the end, these are more things that I need to take care. But personally, I could see that it's way better as it is. So we have these armor class that make things a little bit better, at least in my opinion, and every success counts as a damage too. However, as we inflict more damage, of course, we need to have more hit points. So if we go to the how to convert a tiny dungeon, a regular tiny dungeon, to advanced tiny dungeon, in the end, it is said that we need basically to double the amount of HP that we have. So if you are using material from Tiny Dungeon or any other system, because in the end you can convert tiny supers or tiny gods, or any tiny system can be converted to advanced if you just apply these rules in this page. So we need to have the double hit points instead of the regular hit points. So if you have 6, you should have 12. If you have 5, you should have 10, and so on. Other stuff that we have in these advanced tiny dungeons, one of them is classes. We have some kind of structure of classes. Basically, what we have is we have some specialties, and we need to choose 2 specialties, and the combination of these 2 specialties tells you what class you are. And every class has a class trait too. Of course, one can adapt this, but this is one thing that that I like it too. Although sometimes I just rename the class because for me it does make sense, or sometimes I need to adapt the class trait. When I say that it doesn't make sense, it does make sense to my character. So, but we can see that we have archer, explorer, fighter, mage, paladin, thief, and we can just combine them as you wish. And we have classes such as ranger, bowmancer, assassin, monk, and so on. So if you would like to have a druid, for instance, you don't have druid here, but I just got, for instance, explorer and mage, and then I made my druid. Oh, but it says shaman. Yes, I know, but I just said it's not shaman, it's druid, and let's go. So one can just rename the classes if you wish. And one mechanic that we have by using these specialties is because every trait is under these specialties. So the archer specialty has its own traits. The same for the fighter. Fighter has its own traits. So, and paladin and thief and so on. So every single specialty has its own traits. And then you need to see, okay, if you want to build a character that has more survivalist skills and so on, you need to get explorer. But then you would like to have these kind of skills, but you would like to have, I would say, some kind of archer skills. So you would like maybe to have fleet of foot, or maybe marksman or quick shot. So if you mix explorer with archer, for instance, we can just go to the table and it will tell you that you are a ranger. It's archer with explorer, and then you can have these class traits. Actually, in case of ranger, we have 2 that we can pick one on another. So if we go to ranger, for instance, ranger, there is a brief explanation, and the potter skill is here, and the naturalist skill is here. So we have this trait in addition with our with other traits that we have. So this class mechanic is something that I like too. We still have the heritages; they are still here. So I'm not sure, but I think that we have more. And if we go to the optional rules, because we have plenty of optional rules here too, we can find more heritages there too. So, and the heritages actually define the HP and the AC. And then if you wear armor, you can increase your AC. The maximum AC that a player is allowed to have is 5. So even if you have, for instance, these heritage here, pangolin, that has already AC 4, and you have armor that says that you have AC 5, and you have something else that could, I think monk has an ability that increases your AC 2, it would mean that you have AC 6. It's not allowed by the rule. So the maximum AC that you can have is only 5. And as I said, there are several optional rules in this book. Rules for a lot of things, for criticals. I like them as well. I use them too, the criticals. There are other rules for character flaw or drawback traits in that you can use in your characters too. So if you use these, basically a player could get a drawback trait, and then he or she would be allowed to get an additional trait to their characters. We have, as I said, more heritages available here. Then I will not show everything. Of course, it's a paid material, but I just would like to run through. This is another mechanic that I like too, stress and trauma. So basically, instead of HP, we have this combination of two, I would say, hit point pools, trauma for physical damage and stress for mental damage. But the stress in the end is defined by rolling a d3 plus 4. There are some methods for XP and so on. A lot of mechanics. These item expenditure and depletion points. I like these two. Basically, every time that you use an item, you roll 1d6, and if you roll 1, you need to remove a depletion point from it. And every item has 6 initially, and as it is used, it could go to 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and when it reaches 0, it is completely destroyed. Of course, you can repair. In case of weapons, for instance, it's possible to repair them. Of course, in case of rations, it means that you are out of rations and you need to buy more. And there are some new traits as well. If you have these additional rule, optional rule, you can have these additional traits as well in order to allow your characters to repair their items. Rules for hirelings, rules for setting a camp. So as you may know, I like a lot hexcrawl adventures and sandbox adventures, meaning that I like these things of setting a camp, hunt, and explorer hex and so on. Of course, it's not focused on hexes, but if you see here, we have rules for, there are some camp tasks, and we can have some kind of guard, hunt, repair, scout. So basically, we can use these rules not only for camp tasks, but we can use this for hexcrawl as well. It is very good to use. As Tiny Dungeon is so simple, and you could go and check my series of videos where I try to merge tiny dungeons to Forbidden Lands, and it worked really well. And I think that's all. The book, of course, in my opinion, it's worth to have it. I already had the PDF, and I've decided to buy the physical book because I like to play this system with my son, and I like to play solo too. I personally think that systems that are simple, that has simple rules, are way easier to be played in solo. Although sometimes I like to have some kind of crunchiness from systems like OSR systems, for instance. But in the end, I always go back to Tiny Dungeon somehow. And that's it. I hope you liked the video, and I hope it is helpful to you. So feel free to add the comments if you have any doubts, or if I said something wrongly, feel free to fix this too. Yeah. So thank you, and bye bye.